Hello, this is your instructor. I'm going to show you how to draw the isometric drawing of the index space. First, let's change our grid to isometric settings. Isometric snap right there will take care of that for us. Our object snap settings, the ones we're going to need include the following: endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, and intersection. If we need any others, we'll add them as we go. I'm going to draw a line down the center of the object first as a reference point. So I'll use my construction line layer. Just draw a line any length at this time. I'll draw another line anywhere again across to help me find the center of this to start our drawing. I'll be using the ellipse command. However, we cannot use these commands because the version of the ellipse command I want to use includes the isocircle option, and the only way to obtain that is by typing in ellipse, hit the down arrow, and type in I for isocircle, so we can pick the intersection of these parts. Let me turn on the object snap so that I can draw my isocircle. I'm going to use the first radius as 13/16, so type in 13/16. And then I'll do the same with the other one. The diameter is 2.5. So repeat the command ellipse, hit the down arrow for I, pick the center. I could hit the down arrow, pick diameter, then I could actually type in 2.5. There's the two circles, and we have the bottom of our object. Now we could use that to locate other features, or we could copy those upward. Which I think I'll do first. I'll copy them upwards. So F5, draw a line up from here, the height of the object, which is 1 5/8. I can copy now these two circles up from here to here. To draw the slot you see here, I need to measure the distance backwards from here, which I don't have that information right now. So I'll temporarily add a dimension find out what that is. It's 2 1/8. So I'll draw a line backwards 2 1/8 from here. Hit F5 to go in the correct direction. 2.125, which is right there. So I can stretch this line so I can help me find that spot. I'm going to draw this as an isocircle. Ellipse, down arrow, I, intersection. Radius is 13/32. And that's that portion there. That does extrude up a height of 9/16. So I need to draw a line up 9/16. Hit the F5 key. And I can copy that above as well. So that'll be helpful to me later. As you can see, I'm drawing the object in this direction, which is reflective of the front view. So this would be in the upper left, and the other portion would be in the bottom right. The rest will be drawing a series of lines. I'll be snapping at the intersection of these lines and circles. So if your lines are not long enough yet, make sure that they are crossing beyond the circles so that you can use those later. I may need these at the top. Let's find out. If I don't need them, I could always get rid of them later anyway. I just forgot to copy this one up to here, so I got to do that as well. Alright, so I have lines everywhere where I need them, because I will be needing to draw the base of the object in this direction. The length of that happens to be from here to here, 2 15/16. And on the other side, and then of course it will be rounded off later. For now, I'll just connect these. And there's the base. If this is getting too confusing for you, this is where you start using your layers to assist you as you visualize the object. the other lines for the base right here conveniently cross from here to here. I cannot snap to anything, so I'll just draw longer than I need to, and I can trim it off later. I will trim this so you can see a little bit better. Of that bottom surface. You're probably thinking, I did not need to copy that circle up because I really want to copy this entire feature up, which I will do to save us time. Now, conveniently, using the copy command with all of your construction lines you see everywhere, make your work a lot easier, as you're about to see right here. I can copy this from here up to here, and now I have the feature forming nicely on this object. I could have trimmed this ahead of time to avoid these excessive steps I'm doing here. However, it's nice to see my object taking shape. And now we have to work with the rest of the object here moving up. I will need some lines. This time I will be using quadrant. The quadrant lines vertically will be the furthest endpoints you see of a cylinder in this case for the object. So these lines I'm drawing here will be part of the cylinder. You can see the shape right there quite nicely. Some of the features inside are no longer visible, like this will no longer be there, but this one you will see, as well as part of this, as well as some of these lines. So you have to think about, what do I need to trim in order to get the object to be as visually correct as the real version of the index space that exists in real life. So as you're studying this, you can see how I need to trim some features here and there to get the object as to what it should look like. Let's do the trimming now. If you make mistakes along the way with trimming, just undo your steps and try again. Or you could erase what you don't need behind it here. We have some features that need to disappear. Let me add lines that are missing. I'm going to switch to the object layer. Remove what's not needed. I think we have our shape in the front. We had to round off the corners. Yes, we do. And we cannot use the fillet command to do that. Also, something here will disappear because it becomes part of the object. I have an error. I'm going to fix that error for you now and update my file to reflect what I'm talking about right here. This is a good teaching moment, which I overlooked. I hope you notice this too at some point, but this line here does go back. Where does it go back? It's based on where these two lines intersect, which happens to be right here. So this line actually goes all the way to here. To get there with isometric on, I'm going to have to turn on perpendicular. And there I can now snap it in place. That is where the line should be. I'm going to update the image. This part of this object disappears right here. So here we'll trim. Alright, now we're going to draw the rounds, but not use the fillet command for these two corners. Let's find out what the radius is before we begin. The radius of these fillets are 5/8. In order to draw these as ellipse isocircles, we need to locate the center of the ellipse center point to find an isocircle, and then we can trim it off to form the fillet. And we'll do that on both sides. Pick the line command, starting here, go backwards 5/8, and along the top surface 5/8. And there's our first point. We'll do the same on the other side. I'll go over this way first, I guess, 5/8, and then backwards 5/8. And there's our 2 points. Let's switch to the object line layer. Type in ellipse. Hit the down arrow, I, for isocircle. Pick this as our center point. I could type in the radius, but I could also just snap to that line. Do the same on the other side. And now you can see where we need a trim. So I'll pick the trim command. I'll pick what I want here to work with. I don't need everything. And trim off what I don't need. If any stray pieces remain, you could just erase them. These things will go away. These lines that are vertical that I no longer actually never needed will go away. We'll take care of that later. But there's the shape. We need to copy it down so that we could do some trimming down there as well. So copy. And I could use this as my base and second point for the bottom, and continue trimming and erasing. Again, complete the rest of the cylindrical shapes by snapping quadrant to quadrant. Oh, I don't need one there, that's correct. That's the way it would look. A little bit more trimming. I think that shape is complete with regards to the rounded corners. Yes, it is. The final feature I need to draw is the drill hole that belongs at this surface. To find it, we're going to measure the distance from the center to the edge of this cylinder over here. Find out what that is. So I will measure temporarily from the center to the edge of the cylinder and get 7/8. I'll use 7/8. So I'll draw a line backwards 7/8 along this edge and go up. How high do I go up? Should have done that information also. Have the information from the top, but not from the bottom. So let's find out what that is. 1/2. So it goes up 1/2. So a line from this endpoint up F5, 1/2. That'll be the location of the drill hole. So my isoplane's in the correct direction already. If yours is in these two directions, just hit F5 to in this direction. Type in ellipse so we can activate isocircle option. Pick here and enter the radius of 7/16, diameter 7/16. So hit the down arrow, pick diameter 7/16. And even though this is flat, it doesn't curve around the object, this is sufficient for drawing in this isocircle because of the fact that it's such a small shape, and to the viewer will not notice it's not curved around the actual cylinder itself, so that's okay. This will become an object line, and let's take a look at our work. There's our feature as an isometric without the actual slice, the full section. Let's do that next. I'm going to keep this as a full section and work with slicing this in half. I have all my construction lines right here, which will help me trim this off. So let's begin. I need some more lines, however, to help me with the isoplane. I got to draw the isoplane all the way across the object. So here it goes here, all the way through. We're going to use that for trimming purposes. Some of this just automatically disappears. So let's slice what we don't need. And make sure we don't over trim. Alright, so what happens now? What stays, what goes? It has to do with our section. Our section only has some surface along this edge. As you can see, we need to offset this back, so we need some information measured from here to reveal this edge, which is not along this cutting plane line. 13:30 seconds, so we'll need that number later on. Alright, so let's do this. object line layer current, as we know this goes all the way to the bottom, as does this location. Looks like you need to replace some of my missing slot. I'll just copy this down. Now I know where to trim that later on. So that surface is complete. This surface needs to turn into object lines. I drew a line crooked. Do you see that right there? At least this is in the right spot, I think. Yeah, that's good. Make sure everything is all right over here. Yeah, I did draw that line incorrectly. So there's my proper trim location. Might as well trim that too. And this will be trimmed later. Let me get this all drawn for you to help you facilitate your own work, even though you probably can do this on your own, like I said earlier. But a video is nice to have. Now I know where to copy that back. I'm just drawing as a, with no logical system here, just drawing along as I see things as we create this shape as a full section. Another line to connect everything here and here. There, that takes care of all this. This section is done. Now we got to finish the last half using this offset of 1330 seconds. I'll work with the top view, line this backwards 1330 seconds. I'm using the wrong layers, but I'll just erase that later. Come over this way. Now I know where the object is cut off. Now that we have these 2 points located, let's trim these off so we can see where we're working with. And we're going to draw lines down the height of the part, which is 1 5/8. So I'll draw 2 lines down from these points, 1 5/8. Looks like I need to hit the F5 key first. 1 5/8. And again, connect the 2. Remove or trim what is no longer needed. And it looks like I need the back surface of this interior shape. So let's copy this down and trim that accordingly. So you need to erase something right there. And let me take off the construction lines again. There's our shape with one last step required. Section lines. Let's use the hatch pattern on the section layer, and we're going to hatch here and here only. This is not hatched because it's not physically cut by the cutting plane line or the cutting plane plane, and this would be our completed isometric of the drawing. So when you're here in paper space, zoom extents, zoom 1xp. I cannot get all images to fit on here. Let's try a different scale factor. Zoom 0.5xp. Yeah, I can see some more there that way. I'll move this closer. I'll take ortho off where I can have freedom of movement. There, I can see that a little bit better. Zoom 0.75 XP. That fits nicely. That means my scale is going to say 3/4 equals 1 for my scale of this drawing. I'm going to stick with 3/4 equals 1 because I can see my drawing and I can see my isometric. Let's print this out because I needed to take a screenshot of this anyway. PDF. Letters good. Extents. Center of the plot. 1 to 1. I want monochrome. To remove all color, apply to layout, preview. That looks wonderful right there. I'm going to screenshot this for the canvas page. Okay, screenshot. This is the end of the video. Thank you.